So, Kyla, one of the things we mentioned a lot is your book, and especially a book about digital nomads. A lot of our listeners are interested in this idea, and I don't think they have too much exposure to it. So I imagine that a lot of our listeners are thinking, oh, Alexia and Foster are traveling the world, like they're podcasters, it's the best life and imaginable. And it's really complicated and weird and hard and has a lot of positive things, but has a lot of negative things. And you write really honestly about this online. And I think that's so important and refreshing. So, I guess just to start, two things. How would you define to a person who perhaps is not familiar with it, what does being a digital nomad mean? And then, secondly, a little bit of your personal experience with that.
Yeah, so
sorry for the long question.
That's fine. So digital nomads are people who can work from anywhere because of the magic of the internet, which I've really said a lot of negative things about, but I also love because it's allowed me to live this lifestyle, is you can run a business from a laptop and work from anywhere. And remote work is becoming much more common. And so you could work remotely. Maybe you live in, like I'm from Chicago, maybe you live in Chicago and work for a company that's in New York. And that's entirely possible too. Mm-hmm. So what makes the nomads, digital nomads, is they're traveling the world while they're doing this, and to different extents. Like maybe you live somewhere for 6 months at a time and then you move somewhere else, or maybe you're traveling every week, which is hard to do when you're trying to get work done at the same time.
Yes. I think a lot of us are moving in the direction of, I don't know, are people using the term slow-mads already? I imagine I've seen that somewhere, but...
Oh, yeah, I think I've heard that too.
I'm trying to at least stay in one place for a couple of months because just traveling all the time is not productive and not healthy.
No, I think it's not sustainable. Like it's a fun lifestyle for a few years, but I wouldn't do it for the rest of my life for sure. I think some of the downsides are you struggle to make and maintain relationships, just having friends somewhere when you know you're going to be leaving in 3 months. And you do still, like I work a lot, so the amount of sightseeing I've done, I live in Mexico City right now, and the amount of sightseeing I've done over 2 months could probably be condensed into like a week-long trip to here.
Yeah.
So you do get more of a feeling of what is it like to live somewhere versus coming in and out as a tourist, but there's still always that balance of, but you do spend most of your day working still. So.
Yeah. I have that feeling all the time. It's like I could be, living in my parents' basement right now, not paying rent. Why am I in this place that
right.
It's just a place for me to sit in front of my computer. Yeah. Yeah. So you raised a very interesting point that I believe I read this in one of your Medium articles, and I don't want to misquote you, but I believe you just moved to somewhere in Asia, perhaps Bangkok, and you said something along the lines of making friends in a new city is like a full-time job. And I totally agree with that. And this is something super relevant to our students and listeners because a lot of people are moving to the US or Europe. And even if they can speak really well, they have a lot of difficulties making friendships. And I think a lot of that does not have to do with the language as much as it's hard to make friends as adults. So if you want to respond to that however you want, if you have advice.
I totally agree with it's not necessarily, though the digital nomadism doesn't help. I think you're right that it's just part of being an adult. Like all the friends that I made them in, high school and then college and then my first job. And it's just people you are forced to spend 8 hours a day with. So you're going to become friends. And then when you're an adult and you are trying to make friends and you don't have an office to go to, it's almost like dating. Like you have to find leads. You have to see if you're compatible. You have to ask them to hang out. You have to see if they want to hang out. You have to meet. You have to plan it. And it's not just we're friends because we literally sit next to each other in an office. It's hard.
Yeah, a question I love to ask people in general is how many like real friendships do you have? I'm not talking about Facebook friends, but people that you really talk to and care about that you did not grow up with, you did not go to school with, or you did not work with. And for me, the answer is like, I don't know, definitely less than 10. And I think for most people, it's you can count on two hands.
Right. And like you say, it's not about Facebook friends. That's something else I've learned. Quitting Facebook is, do I want to spend 3 hours a day liking the posts for acquaintances? Or would I rather spend that time maybe sending like a personal long message to a friend, hopping on Skype with a friend, and really deepening those relationships that are those top 10 versus kind of scattering my attention to all these people who I am just one of 700 friends for them as well.
Yeah. The idea of depth and profundity is something I've been thinking about. Honestly, not that deeply about recently.
Right. I've been skimming the surface of depth recently.
So, Kyla, I know a ton of people listening to this will hear all of our warnings about digital distraction and digital nomadism and how, like, if you're doing this, you should be careful because it's tough sometimes. And we'll still think, I want to do that. And especially in Brazil right now, their economy is having a lot of difficulties just financially, economically. Brazil is in a difficult place for most people. And I really do believe that working for yourself online is still a wonderful opportunity, perhaps more now than ever. First, do you agree with that statement? And secondly, if you do, what recommendations would you give to someone trying to follow that path?
I do think it's a great thing, despite all the harsh realities of being a digital nomad. I still live this way and I still love certain parts of it. And I do feel very grateful to travel and see so much of the world and work for myself. And I think that it is a better way to work. The new startup that I worked for maybe a year and a half after I left was completely shut down, just closed. And maybe 25, 30 journalists I knew were just out of a job overnight. And that's how it is in journalism. That's how it is with a lot of jobs now. And depending on an employer can make you a bit inflexible. Whereas when you work for yourself, I feel like I've learned a lot of entrepreneurial skills that even if my books ended up not working out, I could find a way to use my skills as a writer and what I know about business to start something else, to reach out to people I've met who work online, and I could find something else to do. So I think depending on an employer sometimes can be scarier than working for yourself. So that's also very scary.
Yeah, I really want to believe, and I think I do believe this, that working for yourself is just a better bet in terms of security and safety than working for an employer. Although personally in my own life, it does not seem that way right now. But yeah, it really allows you to take control of your life in a really new and liberating way.
Yeah. And if people are looking to start, the way I got into it was working at that software company that was an online business. There are a lot of sites now where you can find kind of apprenticeships in the online world. And I really recommend those because if you can still, have an employer, but learn very quickly about how to work online, what's going on in the space, build some marketing skills, then you can quickly transition into trying to start your own thing on the side or going full time with it. So I don't know that I could have done it. I could have quit my job in Chicago, sat in Chicago, and started an online business. So people definitely do that because I really didn't know anything about it. So being able to be immersed in it and meet people who were doing it really made the difference.
Yeah, because I tried to do it completely on my own from my starting in Brazil and then from my parents' house. That was a horrible idea. I should have immersed myself in a community of other people trying to do the same thing a long, long time ago. So yeah, I totally support the idea. If you're interested in this lifestyle, you should probably find people doing similar things and maybe start working for them first and see if it's a good fit for you.